I'm Paige. I'm an augmented reality makeup and character artist. Thanks for coming to our panel. Today we're going to be talking about building a presence with social AR and also doing something that I love to do the most, which is collaborating. So I invited two of my friends and excellent creators, Isabelle Palumbo and Isabelle Udo, to come and share the stage with me. Come on, guys. Hey, everyone. So to get started, since some of you guys were at their panel before, and some people might be new here, we're just going to give like a little background into who we are again. So if you guys want to start and just intro yourselves.
Yes, so my name is Isabelle Udo. I'm a digital artist and mostly create augmented reality experiences on social platforms, as well as interactive installations. And recently I also started a digital fashion initiative experimenting with code algorithms.
Amazing.
Hi, I'm Isabel. I have a studio based in Amsterdam where we create 3D objects for mobile AR experiences and augmented reality.
Amazing. And I'm Paige. I'm an augmented reality makeup character artist. I've been designing filters for the past 3 years. I started creating effects just out of just passion, just wanted to create makeup looks that I always wanted to try in real life, but don't have the skill to do on both sides of my face. So I'm really good with just one side, not so much the other. So I just started out that way, and it's become like a full-time career for me now. So just to give more background, what was your life like before creating filters? What did you do first?
So I was a film student. So I went to film school and I graduated as a director. So it was kind of a very, very abrupt change because I just started creating augmented reality out of, just when I graduated. But yeah, I really love to do that, and I never really had the incentive to make any films, so.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was working in museums in Amsterdam making exhibitions. I was an exhibition team. Then I worked for a while in the education team in museums, but I always wanted to integrate technology with what I was doing, and sometimes there was no budget or I was feeling unheard because I was junior there. So I started experimenting with AR, and when I met my partner, that's also an amazing 3D artist, we created this studio that grew into what we are right now.
That's so amazing. And so when you guys got started, what kind of software did you start to learn to get to the point where you are today? Like what kind of programs do you guys use?
So I studied interactive design before I studied film, but yeah, basically that was like building websites in HTML, so it has nothing really to do with augmented reality. But it did teach me how, computer signals work together. What was the question again?
Like the type of software you use for your
process. Oh
process.
yeah, so one thing that I really, because I'm not necessarily really a coder, but I do node coding. But one thing that I really learned through creating augmented reality is 3D softwares, because I had no clue how to use that. I really learned along the way.
Amazing. And what's your favorite 3D software to use?
So I really learned Cinema 4D, but I think Blender is also really nice.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. And what about you? What kind of programs do you use on a daily basis between you and your partner?
So right now we're splitting the work where he creates the base model and I do most of the texturing. So I use a lot Substance Designer, Substance Painter, and Mari. Mari is more like a texturing tool for films, but it's great for projections. So if I have to project, I use that. If I have to paint procedurally, I use Substance Painter, and then I bring everything into Spark AR, which is Meta Spark now.
Yeah, brand.
New brand, new name.
That's really cool. I've used some of those programs too. For me, Blender is like my main new 3D program that I use, and I draw pretty much fully in Procreate now on the iPad. I started out with Photoshop. I've been working with Photoshop for like a decade, but I just feel so comfortable with Procreate for drawing makeup. It's just so nice. They're such great brushes.
Yeah. The brushes are great.
Yeah. But on the iPad, you also have Nomad Sculpt, right?
Yes.
Do you also use that?
It's so fun. Yeah, I always do that, especially like if I'm just sitting on a plane. Like if I'm flying somewhere, I'll just take out Nomad Sculpt and start sculpting something just for fun. It's a great software.
Paige creates 24/7. I must say that. Paige is she creates every minute of her life, and I'm so jealous of that.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's very true. We create a lot. We were actually, the other day I was on a panel and they asked me what my superpower is. They felt like if I had a superpower, what would it be? And I didn't really know, so I actually punched into DALL-E's or OpenAI's playground and I was like, what would a superpower be for an augmented reality artist? And they said reactiveness to trends. And I was like, I think that's something that I do and a lot of creators do, is that we're very reactive to trends. We're aware of what's happening in the media. We are looking at new movies, new books coming out, and if we get an idea, we have to jump on it. You know, there's something inside you that says, like, let's go, let's just start creating. And I feel like that for me is something that I do a lot as a creator, is I just move. And so I'm creating, like, it feels like all day long.
Yeah, that's also the downside. I don't know how it is for you, because sometimes you have to create so fast that you're like rushing things, and you feel like, oh, I should have taken more time. Sometimes looking at, if you look at your final product, because you're never totally happy. At least I have that. I'm never totally happy with what I make in the end. I always think I can go back at it and fix it.
Yeah, I think mostly for me that is when it involves deadlines and client work. Sometimes, you know, it happens when you're just like, oh, if I had one more day, I would love to like spend a little bit more time on it, but simply because there's a deadline, you can't. So
yeah.
Exactly, yeah, I have that too. Like, and sometimes when I'm creating projects just for myself, I'll love it, but then at some point, there's a point where I just decide I don't like it anymore. And then I have to go back and make it something new again. Like, it's like, maybe it's even once it's published, I'm sick of it at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's strange, it's like a weird process, but I guess that inspires me to go back and just open that project and add something new to it, and then I make it fresh again.
Yeah.
But yeah, what keeps you guys motivated to keep creating?
I think for me it's really also making sure that I'm also creating art for myself and not only client work. I really felt like at some point there was a moment where I was doing so much client work that I was just not really enjoying the process anymore. So I changed that, and I'm like focusing also a lot more on what I want to create, and that's also why we are here now, also going to talk about our shared project.
Yeah. I think.
All right, so we could jump into our project.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
All right, guys, so let's do it. All right, so first we're going to start with our inspiration behind the effect, and I think you might want to lead this since you were the one who came up with the concept.
Yeah, so obviously we all know all these really cool AI tools, Midjourney, DALL-E, and I was just playing around and created like some kind of crazy jellyfish hat. And we were just talking online, like how cool would it be to make something like that? But it was basically really based upon something that was AI generated initially. And then I think Isabel also joined our conversation, and then basically we kind of divided roles very intuitively, as you will see. And that's how it started.
Awesome. So, yeah, if you guys see like the designs here, some of these were generated with Midjourney. We were using both DALL-E and Midjourney to kind of see like what we like the most. And sometimes I feel like Midjourney has some really fashionable and beautiful looks. Like I like DALL-E. You can make anything in the world that you want to create in any style, but on Midjourney there's something very aesthetically appealing about it. So those were some of the ones that we ended up choosing. And so you could see the different different hat styles on the left, and then the different makeup looks on the right. And so those things we kind of just like worked together as inspiration. And I guess us as creators went through and kind of like picked what we liked to make it our own.
Yeah.
What's your favorite tool for doing machine learning, or not machine learning, AI? Whoops.
Oh, definitely Midjourney, yes. Because DALL-E sometimes is too realistic, and Midjourney is more abstract. And from the abstract art, you can really catch something that you like. Because I don't like copying exactly what I'm seeing. It's just more of a base and inspiration to make what we want.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's really cool to take different pieces of it and put it together and kind of like add your own side to it. Like I think in the last panel that somebody may have asked, like, what do you think about AI? Is it possible that AI will replace us in any way? Or maybe like, will we have no purpose anymore as creators if AI could just do it for us? But I feel like there's this component that we add to it when we put in our prompts or when we customize and choose the things we like.
Yeah, definitely. What I also really like is the text-generated AI. So recently we, together with Alan, who is also a really cool 3D artist, we created like this cyborg woman, and then we just prompted like make a 6-sentence story about this cyborg woman, you know, having her brain transplanted. And it came up with such a wild story. It was really, it's really exciting to see what you can do with that, as long as you have a really, the good prompts.
Yeah, and there is also this question about what is originality nowadays. Like, can you feel 100% original in your work when we're so bombarded constantly with 1,000 images, informations, and you're constantly a product of what's around you. So like, I don't believe in originality or the fact that AI is replacing who you are. I don't think I come up with anything out of my own brain. It's always collecting pieces from everywhere.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like that too. I once heard like a quote, and I'm bad with remembering where it came from, but it was somebody very important who said something like creativity is just building upon other ideas and inventing something new out of it. That creativity really isn't truly something that might be just the first of its kind. It's that it's built upon, it's inspired by. So everything that we do is we're picking up pieces everywhere we go, things that mean something to us based on our stories and individuality. And that's why even when we look at AI, we utilize it, and then we come up with something brand new based off of that. You know, you take that story and you write a new story in your head based off that story that it generated. And so that's the cool thing about human plus AI, I think. And this is a good example of that, is coming together, taking AI, making it our own, bringing our unique talents, and we'll jump to the next slide. So the first one is my slide, which is the makeup look, which I based off of those images that you see there. So I decided to go for the shimmery eyeshadows and try to incorporate some sort of like scaliness to the face by using different brushes in Procreate. And I created different 3D eyelashes. I have a dynamic pupil. And a lot of people ask me about that pupil that moves, it's animated. I created that with Blender, and I created shape keys to animate it with the texture applied to it so that you can animate it and make it do exactly what you wanted. So each shape key is a different reaction to a different expression. So you can make it react when you open your mouth wide or blink or something like that. So yeah, so we have that because we wanted it to look kind of like a sea snake in some way. Isabel suggested maybe a sea snake kind of eye. And so that was part of the character. For the makeup, I figured out something kind of interesting that I thought was fun, which was using render pass. I took the face, the alpha, where you blink and also close your mouth, and I blurred it so that we'd get a soft edge on the lip line and the eye makeup so that it didn't have that sharp outline that it gets. So that's one way that I tried to innovate with this project. And then Isabel suggested, Isabel, suggested doing the crystals on the face from that other image, the bottom ones where there's little crystals. And we worked with render pass to make them sparkle and shimmer when you move your head. And actually doing that one, I worked with something really simple. Instead of using a physically based material, I used flat, and I put in the environment texture in that one, noise. And so noise works really well on sparkles and rhinestones and stuff to really give them a shine. So that was my piece of it, and I'll jump to the next. And so this is yours?
Yes, these are the textures for the jellyfish head. So once the model is finished, I go into Substance Painter, which is a program to texture 3D models. Sometimes you can work with what you already have with procedural materials or materials that are already in the program. But if you want to create your own materials, which I usually do sometimes, you can use Substance Designer, which is part of the same suite. And you can create with nodes. It's a procedural-based software. You can create materials out of that. So for this, I used a couple of materials that were already in Substance Painter. I drew on top. I think that as a good texture artist, you have to draw because there are a lot of procedural things you can add, the pre-made also materials. But if you want to create something realistic, you have to hand draw, and it's super important. So I went there, I hand drew also, and then there is a part which are the folds to make it look a little bit more like hat. That the folds are generated in a Substance Designer by me. And you first fake a cloth texture, you create it, and then you make a normal map out of it. And the normal map, what it is, it's fake detail. So it pushes, it's a fake height map. the height map really pushes the 3D model, while the normal map gives you that illusion that the 3D model is bumpy or it has a little depth when it's in fact flat. And you do that because our phones are not able to handle a really big model that would have all these details, so you could say. Yeah. And now Isabel's part.
Okay.
So what I did for this project is I rigged the model, and I did that in Cinema 4D. I divided it in two different parts, like all the strands. I'm sorry, I think I'm very close to the sound box, maybe?
Come here.
Okay. So yeah, so I rigged basically the full model, and then I started to bind it, weight paint it, and make sure that it all can move very nicely. And so normally, specifically for MetaSpark, all the joints need to be all rotated and zeroed out. And in this way, you can basically create custom physics. And I also worked with a new technique within MetaSpark using the delay value patch to create actual, like, an echoing movement, which adds to the realism of the physics.
That's so cool.
I know, sorry if this is a bit of, yeah, too complex, but...
I love every part of it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So this is the finished effect. Oh, how do you play a video with this?
I don't know.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
And that's the finished effect on Isabel.
Yeah, and I think what was really nice to see here is that we all have a very specific speciality, and we really utilized those things to create something that we wouldn't have been able to create if we did it apart from each other.
Yeah, it's really amazing to come together with such amazing artists that have such specialties, and like to be able to each do our own part, our own way, like the way we each wanted to, and then come together and combine those. We ended up doing this in just a very short period of time. Should we even say how short? It's like, I think I did mine in really like a day. Like I drew the makeup in just maybe like an hour or two, and then building it, I spent the day trying to make sure I really wanted it to look good, collaborating with you guys. So I was like, I have to find out some new things to make this cool. So I spent some time on that, but this was like a week project, I think.
Yeah, but because it's all the experience we have, because it would take way longer if we didn't get so fast that it actually,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, when we're creating projects like this, we have so many years of experience that we have this flow that we get into where we could just like, if we're working on our own creativity, I feel like we could just knock out an effect in like a day, you know, something like that. So it was amazing to be able to come together and do something so creative with you guys.
Definitely.
Definitely.
So that's our effect. And that's it. So I guess should we jump into just like questions and stuff now?
Yeah, we have 4 minutes.
4 minutes left?
4 minutes question.
Yeah.
Any questions from the audience? Yes.
Sorry, I wanted to know, like, do you have any recommendations, like, for the readings, how you make it look a bit more like, you know, natural, like video readings? Like, do you have any recommendations, like where to start the readings?
Yeah, so... Yeah, but you're also using a lot of class simulation, I think, right? Which looks really nice. Yeah. So I think I probably use way more bones than I should. I think that's one thing that will help, you know, adding that detail into the movement and the model. But
I'm sorry, just don't forget. Regarding that, do you prefer the codes that recently got out that we spoke about it? Is it better to use the script or like the block that you...
Yeah, so that's really nice to hear actually. So I never use scripts to create any physics in MetaSpark. I always just build out custom physics depending on what you want to do. Like for example, for this one, besides it moving, it also moves on its own a little bit. So I add that basically to the block. So the block that I created is kind of like a base, and then you can add to that. Yes.
Any other questions? Yes?
I was wondering how you think about different skin tones when you're creating filters and like, for instance, with this one, is that part of the creative process?
Yes, that's such a great and important question. When I create, I use I use so many videos and pictures of different faces to test it on. So also when I'm designing the makeup, I have created like all different varieties of people for all the platforms, from Effect House, for Snapchat, and for Spark, by using FaceApp. You could take FaceApp and use morphing, and you could morph all different people so that it fits the template pretty nicely. Then you just have to do minor adjustments in an editing program and make it fit. So that way I have all different faces to test on. And then when we're creating it inside Spark, we try out all different skin tones in the videos. And then sometimes I'll even send it to friends and stuff, and I say, hey, do you like this? Does this feel okay? Do you like the way it looks? And so that way I can have a good gist on if it's something that's just for me or something that's for everybody. But it is so important to create for everybody because everybody's using our effects all the time. So yeah, so it's important, I feel like, for all of us to always have like a good archive of like different faces, different face shapes, etc.
As a quick follow-up,
Yeah.
Just from a technical point of view, once you're going through that iteration process where you're testing on different face shapes and then you come back to the materials,
Yeah.
is there anything you find you tend to repeatedly do to make it look compatible, or is it just depend on the effect you're doing?
It kind of depends on each program. I would say, like, in Effect House, I've learned that, like, most of the opacity settings, no matter what you set it to, it just doesn't, the blend modes aren't so great. So, like, it always looks super opaque in low light. And so that tends to not look good on darker skin tones, so I stay away from stuff like that altogether now. Like, it's either had to be on, like, 1% for a little tiny highlight on the nose, or it's got to be 0. And then for Spark, their blend modes are really good. So I just have, I've just learned that you have to use the right blend modes to make sure that it looks good in all lighting. And then it typically will look good in all skin tones, I think. Yeah.
All right, one last question back here.
So I wanted to know, first of all, thank you for the presentation. What are the challenges that you're facing as AR creators within the Meta ecosystem or TikTok? Are there any particular challenges that you can think of? What recommendations can you make to those platforms?
Yeah, I think right now we're really seeing a shift going on to focus more on creators, and I think platforms should really, make sure to invest in creators and give them a proper stage, and make sure that they are referenced in the right way. And I think that is one thing that I could give to any platform as a tip. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think it's changing also a little bit because they're recognizing that if you don't have creators using your tool or making art for your platform, you're going to have a way less engagement, and then you build a product that no one is using because all these companies invest in their product, which could be Effect House, Spark, or Lens Studio. They actually put money in the development, and if there's no ecosystem, it would be a failure for their marketing side.
Yeah, so just like you guys have said, like I've noticed that there's some things that make for like a great creator community. One is like having a place for us to all connect and chat and meet each other, support each other, share things, share what we've learned, and then that encourages other people to share what they've learned. So if we're all sharing, it's like we're all helping each other grow, we're making friends, and so that's number one. And then also just having different ways to help feature our work. Like, so it's still important for us to have our work be shared and have our work get credited. So like, we want to have a place for that. So whenever platforms do that, like on Snapchat, there's a trending page where you could see your stuff trending. And it's like pretty soon after you launch an effect, it hits that page. And if people start to take a liking to it, it will stay there for a while and you'll build up a lot of views. So they always give you a chance. And I like how on TikTok they do that too, where they put you on that new page. And so that way you get that chance to get your work seen no matter what your audience size is. So that plus a great community, I think really helps keep us excited.
Yeah, and plus you have to ask yourself, what am I building for? I always ask myself, what am I building for? Am I building because I want this effect to be viral or be appreciated by everyone? Or is this more a niche effect that I know will not be used so much, but it's for me and my own growth as a as an AR developer. The more features you put in an effect, the more it doesn't get used sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So that's all we have time for today, but thank you all so much, and congratulations on an amazing project.
Thanks
so much.
Thank you.